The man who created AIDS is somebody who is a very sick, disgusting individual by the name of Robert Gallo. He worked with then Anthony Fauci when it came to the discovery of HIV/AIDS. Now, I don't want to get into the 411 on how AIDS came into the mainstream of the United States, but let's just put it this way. It was artificially created. All right, let me go ahead and take you a listen when someone confronts Robert Gallo about creating the AIDS virus, and take a look at the reaction by Robert Gallo himself.
Historic records prove the secret intensification of the biological weapons race in America make the Soviet efforts pale by comparison. Here to prove it are three of the most stunning and condemning documents in biological warfare history. First is a never declassified congressional record of 1969 showing the Department of Defense requested $10 million to develop, quote, synthetic biological agents for germ warfare, end quote.
Synthetic biological agents for germ warfare. And this was, studies done in the late 60s, 70s, 80s.
Through the National Academy of Sciences, National Research Council, that is the NAS, NRC. That's nearly half of the amount of money given to all of biological weaponry that year. These new laboratory creations were descriptively and functionally identical to HIV/AIDS. Mind you, this was...
And by the way, I also want to put a footnote here. I don't think it's a coinkydink either that this supposed coronavirus is being treated by AIDS drugs. I mean, you all understand this, right? That's what they're promoting as the latest treatment as far as the CDC is concerned. HIV/AIDS drugs is a treatment for COVID. What a shock.
15 years before the contested discovery of the AIDS virus by this man, Dr. Robert Gallo, who, as you will see in a minute, oversaw Litton Bionetics, the Army's sixth leading biological weapons contractor at that time. Bionetics also operated the entire administration of the National Cancer Institute's programs at Fort Detrick.
National Cancer Institute. And by the way, here's another footnote, okay? Since we have, and I'm talking the United States, since the United States has shut down its entire healthcare industry to supposedly deal with this COVID-19 nonsense, cancer deaths have dropped by 40% since last year. I mean, does anybody understand what I'm saying by doing that? They shut down the entire healthcare industry, and cancer deaths are down from 40% from last year. Think about that for a second. If you don't believe me, look it up for yourself.
Time as well. This private company was a medical subsidiary of the mega military weapons contractor called Litton Industries. Litton's president, Roy Ash, was Nixon's alternate for the National Security Advisor post he gave to Kissinger. In consolation, the president made Ash his White House chief of the American business and industry.
Oh, what a shock.
As Roy Ash was joining the Nixon White House staff, Kissinger ordered Admiral Zumwalt of the Navy to do a reassessment of America's biological weapons capability.
Why is Kissinger always involved in this kind of crap? And why is Kissinger still alive, considering that he lived most of his life as a fat? That's another thing I'd like to question, but I'm digressing. Go ahead.
Abilities. The Navy has always been at the forefront of such things. Bioweapons were cheaper to make and could be made to target certain people, even certain ethnic groups.
Certain ethnic groups. Haven't you noticed that blacks seem to be more prone to HIV/AIDS than any other racial makeup? I don't think that's a shock. I mean, hell, even Louis Farrakhan talks about it being AIDS being a racial as well as a sexual disease.
There is no doubt that Fort Detrick's sudden cancer focus was part of a greater depopulation plan.
Depopulation, all right? And moreover, I also want to put this as a major point of emphasis here, that aside from this cancer solution situation, that we have done so much studying on cancer that the studying wasn't necessarily done to be able to cure it. the study was done to see if they could weaponize it.
According to congressional records and his biographer, Time magazine's managing editor, Walter Isaacson, Kissinger selected the option presented by Admiral Zumwalt to develop AIDS-like and Ebola-like bioweapons, and the contract went to his White House colleague's company, Litton Bionetics.
Litton Bionetics.
There is now no doubt that Dr. Gallo officiated the development of these AIDS complex viruses. His group at Bionetics combined leukemia, lymphoma, and sarcoma viruses from various species of animals nearly 15 years before he was credited by the Department of Health and Human Services for having discovered the cause of AIDS, a similar retrovirus. They said this
now, I want you to know that here in a couple of minutes, this man right here, Robert Horowitz, who did extensive research on all this shit, confronts Robert Gallo at a speaking symposium, and Robert Gallo didn't know whether to shit or get off the pot.
Would lead to a cure, an AIDS vaccine within 3 years.
A vaccine! Doesn't that sound familiar?
Happened. I managed to catch up to Dr. Gallo at the 11th International Conference on AIDS in Vancouver in 1997. I asked him if he was concerned that some of his experiments might have given rise to the AIDS virus, or AIDS virus relatives, that might have contaminated monkeys and chimpanzees shipped by Litton to the Merck's vaccine division in New York for the production of the earliest hepatitis B vaccines. Here is the exchange Dr. Gallo eventually apologized to me for. He was obviously aggravated.
Obviously aggravated. He wasn't expecting you to pull his past, all right in front of his face and have to answer for it. Now, this is Robert Gallo. Take a listen to what Horowitz tells him and how Gallo reacts. This is the man that you're looking at right here that created AIDS. Him, along with Fauci, along with Burks, the same people that are the experts of COVID-19, all right? They work for this piece of shit right here.
Do you have any concern that your early experiments in taking simian virus 40 in the presence of simian foamy retroviruses and recombining them with cat leukemia and chicken leukemia sarcoma viruses might have given rise to HIV or its relatives following their culture in human tissues, and that these mutants could have contaminated some live viral vaccines produced in contaminated monkeys and chimps supplied to vaccine manufacturers through your affiliates at Litton Bionetics?
Quite frankly, I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Well, he's breathing a little hard there. Yeah, of course you don't know what he's talking about. You know exactly what he's talking about, fucking Gallo, you dumb piece of shit. You lying scumbag. You imbecile who gets off on killing millions of people, you piece of shit.
I'll cite your paper, Dr. Gallo.
If you can, you've got a paper. You've got a paper that I don't know I ever published.
Okay.
I sure like you decided. Would you begin?
I'd be happy to. National Academy of Sciences, 1970, Gallo et al.
Oh, and look, fucking Horowitz came prepared, cited his own work, and there's Robert Gallo's name, by the way. And he's trying to claim that he doesn't remember shit from Shinola. This is the guy that's supposed to be so brilliant that is, he founded AIDS, and he's supposed to be this brilliant bioscientist, yet can't fucking remember his own papers and his own works and shit.
It was an oral presentation that you presented before NATO and NATO audiences in Mol, Belgium. You published it. It's in the National Academy of Sciences. I'll be happy to show you the paper.
Stop. I mean, this is beyond asinine. In Mol, Belgium, my first trip to Europe, so I can remember it, a NATO meeting did take place. NATO meetings fund all scientific meetings all over the world, even East-West at that time.
NATO?
Biologic meetings, scientific, chemistry meetings, all kinds.
Now, why would NATO be funding biological meetings? That's very interesting. Meetings
about motherhood, fatherhood, everything. And what I talked about in Mol, Belgium, was in the 1960s, long before gene cloning took place, before I ever worked in virology. What I talked about was cellular transfer RNA, okay? And that's Mol, Belgium. Proceedings in the National Academy of Science on SV40, I never published a paper in my life on SV40, except the transfer RNA species in SV40 transformed hamster cells compared to non-transformed cells as a control.
Caused cancer. You know, listen to the bureaucratic legal ease that this scumbag is actually trying to use in an attempt to try to deviate the question from Horowitz here.
Control. You've got pineapples, kiwis, grapes, and cherries mixed in with some other tutti frutti. I don't know what in the hell you're talking about.
And of course, his colleagues are going to laugh because they certainly don't want the great Robert Gallo to look like a somewhat of a cold, callous, murderous, mad scientist. So, that's funny. Oh, tutti frutti, that's funny. Piece of shit.
And, excuse me.
I'm a little bit tired of this kind of nonsense.
Okay.
Crap.
And Gallo, Sarin et al. Were Lytton bionetics researchers were your co-authors in which you combined cat leukemia and chicken sarcoma viruses to create to evaluate the leukemia.
Yeah, you see, Gallo is trying to shut his mouth, all right, because he knows. Horowitz knows what caused the AIDS virus. He knows, because he read the documents, he's read this idiot's work, he has looked after the studies of Gallo, he knows exactly what caused it. The discovery of AIDS enzyme, reversed transcriptase, whatever the fuck it is, in lymphoma cancer viruses added to cat leukemia viruses, templates forming a new human cancer viruses, i.e. AIDS.
Sarcoma complex models.
I'm really smart. Yes, we did it. Everything was created by us working in the laboratory. Look, just for those...
Yeah, now he's telling you the truth. You see, that's what these Satanists have to do. Did you see this? Huh? Did you see that? He said, yeah, we made it all in a laboratory. It was all us. He's trying to be facetious while telling you the truth so that karma doesn't come back around and give AIDS to his ass. You see, that's what these evil people have to do. They have to tell you what they have done so that karma doesn't come back around to them.
With some little bit of understanding of this, who care about this kind of idea. I've had a lot of things said, but I've never had anything quite like that one. There were people who thought and made postulations that, it was not actually directed at me, this is a good one, a new one, but that HIV could have been created in laboratory experiments.
Now, listen to what he says about AIDS and HIV being conducted or actually created in laboratory experiments. Listen to this stupid, fucking evasive, splitting hair answer, all right?
Answers to that are definitive, conclusive, that no scientist could have deliberately created them unless he was a super genius and 10 years ahead of his time.
Unless he was a super genius. Listen to this asshole give himself the adulation because he's the guy who founded AIDS. And now he's claiming that anybody who was able to create AIDS in a laboratory is a super genius. What a sick asshole.
Definitively existed long before molecular cloning. That's point one. Point two, we know the full sequence, the genome of HIV. It was published by our lab in 1985 and by a group from Paris around the same time. The genome has no homology to any known existing virus in the world. Except SIV, discovered after it, has nothing to do with cats, has nothing to do with chicken sarcoma viruses. SV40 is a DNA virus that comes from little animals.
Monkeys.
That can transform cells in culture, has no sequences.
Causes
in HIV.
cancer.
Further, we never worked with SV40 with those viruses together. And if we did, the whole thing would be irrelevant. And I think...
Yeah, and even if I did, it'd be irrelevant. You know what I'm saying? Even if I did, fuck around with what you just suggested, Horowitz, it's irrelevant.
You need to begin with Biology 101 high school, okay?
These documents, including the U.S. government contracts, best explain how AIDS emerged on two far-removed continents in black Africans and gay New Yorkers by 1978. These were precisely the populations that received the first hepatitis B vaccines produced in Lytton's chimpanzee.
Now, how quaint that these people that first caught it all got it from a vaccine. Kind of sounds like what is happening with the so-called COVID shit.
Just 4 years earlier. By the way, the man sitting to Dr. Robert Gallo's right is Dr. Jonathan Mann. At the time, Dr. Mann was the AIDS czar for the World Health Organization.
The World Health Organization, the same organization our President Donald Trump just gave the middle finger to because of the so-called COVID-19 global guidance that they got all wrong.
Not long after Dr. Mann witnessed my exchange with Gallo, he quit his most esteemed position, saying, quote, far more than a medical problem, AIDS is a socio-political imposition.
Socio-political imposition. Now, look, I don't mean to be laughing at this, but folks, I'm telling y'all right now, all this information is at your fingertips. Now, the reason I brought this up is because Robert Gallo, he was the guy who not only founded AIDS, but the people who worked under him, all right, which was Tony Fauci, all right, the Dr. Burks, and all these other so-called experts in these COVID-19 pandemic that are directed directly, that work directly under this psychopath. So as far as I'm concerned, folks, all right, I personally believe, much like what the woman from Plandemic, I don't know if y'all have seen the Plandemic, the documentary or the interview with, what was her name? Merkovich, Judy Merkovich. All right, I mean, she tells you in that, and by the way, Judy Merkovich, a doctor, a virologist who worked with Fauci, with Robert Gallo, with all these people, she came out and said point blank that what is killing people right now in COVID is what they put into the new vaccine. Whatever they put into the new vaccine is what's making people sick. That is her explanation, and that's why people are dropping dead. And by the way, what vaccine am I talking about? I'm talking about flu vaccines. And you know something, I want you all to know for the past 2 years, the flu vaccines that you people have been taking have been the wrong ones. All right? They've been the wrong ones. Look, take a look at this. Last year, flu vaccine selection suggests this year's shot may be off the mark. Okay? And when the hell did they produce this? September 30th, 2019. All right? That November, we saw, or at least heard, the first case of coronavirus in Wuhan, China. Okay? I mean, I can go on and on. I mean, this has not only happened this year, it has happened previous years in which the flu vaccine, all right, the flu vaccine, the one that everybody's supposed to get every year to kind of prevent them from getting the flu, was the wrong flu in the vaccine itself. All right? I mean, let's take a look at it some more. Take a look. Wrong flu vaccine concerns have Duke researchers pursuing universal vaccine. All right? So, I mean, all I'm simply stating is, folks, is that I believe Judy Merkovich in the fact that anybody who is dying of a so-called COVID-19 has done so and is doing so because they took a flu vaccine. And look, you know, guess what they're talking about now? I don't mean to be laughing, all right? I don't mean to be laughing, but it's just amazing to me how people listen to any fucking scumbag on the television. All right, here, let's see what they're now telling us. All right, here's New York Times. Can you get a flu shot now? Yes, and doctors say you should. You could help prevent a quote twindemic of influenza and COVID-19. They say. I mean, come on, man. Come on, a twindemic? A twindemic. All right, anyway, I've had enough of this. I hope that you all understand what's going on here. All right.